Welcome to Vibrational Revelations. My name is Elena.
My name is Alejandro.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for being a part of Vibrational Revelations YouTube community. We absolutely appreciate you. Please make sure that you subscribe, because this is how you get notified about all of our latest releases, that you like, you share, you comment. We always look forward to your feedback. In fact, every one of our episodes that we release, and lately we've been on the roll, have been based on some of the, or many of your requests of what you are wanting us to disclose. For those of you that are brand new and you've never heard of our work, we use scalar wave technology to analyze vibrational frequencies and levels of consciousness and apply vibrational frequencies of awakening scale. If you're not familiar with the scale, we will be posting a link below so you can download it and get yourself familiarized with what each of the numbers mean. Before we proceed in today's episode, which is all about revealing the vibrational frequencies and levels of consciousness of Ryan Reynolds, some of you are like, why are you even reading these people? Who cares about Hollywood stars? And we just wanted to say it's not about Hollywood stars. It's just that they help us look deeper into a human psyche, what makes someone tick. And lately, there's been a lot of controversy about Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, which is the episode we released a couple of weeks ago. And it's still trending. And many of you have said, well, why didn't you reveal the vibrational frequencies and levels of consciousness of Ryan Reynolds, who is Blake Lively's husband?
Yes, and it is about measuring identifying more than anything, the filters that get activated when they process the information that they are perceiving, and to understand it from a deeper level as of what is the type of inner dialogue that they're having, right? And then it is something that is not really seen unless one is diving deeper and paying attention. And so this method really helps us to understand it from a higher perspective.
And as we always say, everyone plays an important role. It's not about good or bad, positive or negative. The other thing we wanted to mention is we do have Vibrational Revelations membership platform. This is the platform where we have recordings of over 200 episodes that we've put together for the last 5 years. And if you join, of course, those episodes we could not publish publicly just because they're quite controversial. We will be posting a link below. So if you join, keep in mind, for many of you who have asked us, how do I book my own vibrational frequencies PDF? You'll be able to book it with a discount that is posted in the Vibrational Revelations membership platform, which is 25% off. So definitely worth the 1-year membership for you to explore previous episodes and also join us live. We go live once a month in the community. We interact, ask questions, and of course do a lot of, or reveal a lot of super sensitive topics, which unfortunately could not be posted due to censorship on YouTube or any other platforms, because this has happened to us in the last couple of years.
Exactly.
All right, so let's dive into Ryan Reynolds, who is a Canadian actor. So he incarnated at the vibrational frequency of 400, which is the frequency of discernment, a very analytical mind. He was born at the frequency of 55, and his overall frequency or level of consciousness as of today is 55. Again, we're using the scale from 0 to 1,000. And as you can see, he's had a massive vibrational frequency drop from 400 to 55. And this is something that we have seen over the years, looking at people's vibrational frequencies. And from what I remember from previous episode for his wife, Blake Lively, she also had a massive vibrational frequency drop from incarnation to birth.
Yes, we see that often when we do the lifetime vibrational frequency analysis and we measure the vibrational frequencies from birth all the way up to date. And often we see the people experience this phoenix rising and this hero's journey. I think so far, at least 98% of the people that we have analyzed
Yes.
show those patterns.
Yes. So now we're going to look into the frequencies of health. Again, we're not looking at how healthy or unhealthy he is, but we're looking into, again, these are all frequencies of that are linked to emotions, and also how does one filter their reality, right? So what filter gets activated? In Ryan Reynolds' case, he views health through the lens of 250. 250 is observation, so it's a neutral place. So he's neutral in that case. Now, there's three aspects that we measure in relationship to health: connection to mind, connection to body, and connection to soul. Connection to mind in his case is the frequency of 400. So I would say, based on what we're about to reveal to you, this is an indication that he's probably an intellectual person who uses his mind and connects to it through the level of reasoning, right? Discernment.
And it is similar frequency than his incarnation frequency. So
Yes.
he's familiarized with this frequency, and somehow it is a known territory, but he's using that filter because he's vibrating at the frequency of 55 at the moment. That mind connection is really is working to activate a lower vibrational frequency filters, apparently, right?
So connection to body is 250. So he's very neutral in that way. And then connection to soul is 55. So there is definitely an imbalance as far as connection to mind, connection to body, and connection to soul is 55. And it can vary the reasons why that could happen, right? So we don't know in his case why his connection to soul is where it is, but we can share with you from other instances of where we've read vibrational frequencies. For example, people, this is totally different, right? And again, we don't know why his connection to soul is where it is. But for example, people that have done psychedelic journeys, or people that tend to drink alcohol, or people that are taking specific type of medications, that will interfere with the connection to their soul aspect. And this is just something to think about, right? Because everything has a consequence to the actions that we take. So just something to keep in mind. Finances, he views through the lens of 250. Again, neutral. Didn't he just sell you? We were talking about it. He sold a company, a phone company, right?
Mint Mobile, I believe.
Mint Mobile. So yes.
The
So he
cell
feels
phone company.
quite comfortable. And 250 oftentimes is related to people that have their own businesses, or they might just feel comfortable in that area, but can also become complacent if you stay in this 250 frequency for a long time. Creativity. So creativity, we say, is always about inspiration. When you feel inspired, how do you take action? And in his case, it's 125. So this unfulfilled desire. So it seems, when somebody is experiencing this frequency of 125 in creativity, they create through the lens of never enough. Relationships he views through the lens of 55. Relationship to self is 55, and relationship to others is 55. And 55 is the frequency of detachment. Now, because he did not incarnate as what we call the shadow player, right? He came at a frequency of 400. I would say, based on the numbers we're giving you today, we're sharing with you today, he's going probably through the dark night of the soul, which we referenced also for Blake Lively, right? It's And we see most human beings go through dark night of the soul
At one point or
at
another.
one point or another. Exactly. And what's interesting about the frequency of 55 is it can be used, first of all, to detach so you don't feel the impact of whatever trauma you've had in your life, of whatever difficulties you're going through. But it could also be applied as a frequency and a shield of manipulation. So in his case, this 55 frequency could be seen as that. Now, personal growth, he views personal growth as 125. Again, this desire of unfulfilled desire, like there's never enough. It's striving for something greater than yourself, but feeling like it's difficult to achieve. Philanthropy is 55. So philanthropy is the art of sharing and giving. Service to self is 55, and service to others is also 55. So again, there's this element of detachment, and at the same time, it could translate into an element of manipulation.
It is, I can say, because he incarnated at the frequency of 400 and is currently vibrating at the frequency of 55, this drastic gap, right, or drop, we can say, is due to trauma. So the manipulation aspect plays a key role in it, and in his thinking process, because it's trying to creating a shield of protection, and at the same time manipulating the environment so he doesn't experience or re-experience that which activates the trauma that caused him to experience this huge drop, especially from incarnation of 400 down to birth at 55, right?
And again, we're not just, it takes time to get to this frequency. So it's not like it happened overnight or it happened in the last month or 2 months.
Exactly.
So keep it in mind. Like we've had cases. In fact, we have a case of one of our clients who so beautifully wanted to share her frequencies publicly, Taya. So if you go through all our previous episodes, there's one that we share. She decided she wanted to share her lifetime frequencies. And she talks about how she stayed in this 50 frequency until she was 40 years old.
Yes.
And it was not until she had her car accident with her son, and she was, I think she said she was doing marijuana for many, many years. And she woke up in the hospital thinking that her son, 9-year-old son at that time, was killed in a car accident. And
that it was her fault.
And it was her fault. Thankfully, he was fine. But that was her moment of waking up. So just so when we share this information, you don't feel bad, or you don't feel like it's about judging another or judging yourself. It's about having a compassion for the human journey of what each individual, including yourself, is going through in your lifetime. And it is through compassionate inquiry that you'll be able to make the shift, if this is what you're seeking, into higher states of consciousness. So I just wanted to say that, because oftentimes people will fall into, this guy is a bad guy because of his frequency. But keep in mind, most people we look into and we test their vibrational frequencies, most people go through these journeys, and we have to have a lens of compassion when looking at every situation. And even in today's case, for Ryan Reynolds, he's a father. I'm sure he loves his wife, and he's loved by many people, including his children. So again, let's have that compassionate lens, because I think it's very easy to put political figures or Hollywood stars and make them exempt from being harsh to them and about them. So I think it's important to keep that in mind.
Doubt, because as we tend to judge others, it's only a reflection of self-judgment.
Yeah, our own state of being.
Right. Yeah,
Exactly. So whatever happens in the lives of the people we're revealing, we really wish them all the best.
yes, and our intention is to share this information in order to understand ourselves better, and the better you understand yourself, the easier it is to discern what works and what doesn't work, or what actually facilitates that transition, or facilitates or activates, I will say, your innate ability to diffuse, neutralize, and release resistance, so that you can rise and float like a feather.
And you hear lately a lot of people talk about we're transitioning into 5D. Those that are in 3D are going to stay back. And from all of the analysis and everything we're looking at, no one is exiting this reality without doing it collectively. And this is a collective journey. And this is, I think, very important to remember and keep an open heart and open mind and have forgiveness, because without it, we're not going to make the collective shift that we're all seeking, which is into the higher states of consciousness, to where we can live in communities with open hearts and open minds. And I think this is the bigger message of the work that Alejandro and I
Yes.
are doing.
But at the same time, you decide who you want to mingle with, right?
Yes.
You decide who is accepted in your club. You could be open-hearted and compassionate
Yes.
toward
But have boundaries.
other people's journeys, but honor your boundaries. Yes, have
Yes.
self-love, self-respect as you learn and gain more awareness about your journey, so then you can interact and entertain information in those that are in alignment with your current reality. And as you shift your inner dialogue, your reality will be a reflection of that shift. And therefore, by default, you will be attracting different players that match that frequency.
Yes.
Players, situations, and so forth, right? And eventually things appear magically, often without any expectations.
Yes.
And that's what we often call miracles, right? It just out of the blue appear.
All vibrational frequency alignments.
Exactly, yes.
All right, his intuition. So again, it's not about how intuitive Ryan Reynolds is, but what emotional frequency lens he uses or he applies when information comes through. And it's frequency of 55. Again, there's that level of detachment. In some cases, from the lifetime frequencies that we have tested from private clients, we've seen that it's this element of disassociation, not to feel pain. So it's connected to feeling numb. That's another way we can describe it, right?
Avoidance.
Avoidance,
Well, right?
yes.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because of his connection to soul is also 55. So there is this element of disassociation. So under intuition, there's 4 elements of 4 categories we test: clairaudience, clairsentience, clairvoyance, and claircognizance. Clairaudience is 55 frequency, clairsentience is 55, clairvoyance is 125. And sometimes we see that aspect is related to creativity. And his creativity is also at 125, the unfulfilled desire. And then his claircognizance is also 55. Under the intelligence aspect, IQ is 250. Emotional quotient is 125. And we talk about this quite a lot, where we say that the emotional quotient or emotional intelligence is far more superior than the intellect. And in his case, emotional intelligence perhaps could feel unsafe. And he tends to rely much more on reason and logic, which is related to the IQ, the information that he's gained throughout his life, to make his decisions, interact with others. SQ, social quotient, which is also linked to your level of magnetism. In his case, it's 500, state of flow. And this is not an unusual number, I would say, for somebody who is a celebrity, somebody who's on stage or in theaters quite a lot, is having this magnetic presence.
That's the moment where they feel, I would say, they're experiencing the connection between the persona self and the divine self in a way. There is a sense of alignment, right? They are in the flow, and resistance dissipates. So they own their space at that moment. That's what where they feel most comfortable at. And in his case, yes, social quotient
It's
makes
for him,
sense.
right? There's still resistance because it's from 0 to 1,000, but 500 is quite a high number.
Yeah.
And adversity quotient is 55. Again, the vibrational frequency of detachment. So we would oftentimes what we see is when a person is being challenged, which is the adverse cases, right? When you're being challenged to the core, what is your go-to response? And again, this is a response we inherit through our ancestry, but it doesn't mean it cannot be overcome. But it can stay stuck in this number if whatever that number is, if the trauma is repeated over and over and over again in different ways. So the go-to response, if a person is not working on themselves, would be that frequency of 55, or in some cases we've seen 100, which are pretty common vibrational frequencies for adversity quotient.
And also not only that the trauma is being repeated, but it's also being avoided. So when there is avoidance, then there's the process of expansion reflects stagnation in a way, or it slows down the process of expansion when we avoid things and we're not facing our, I would say, the emotions that are triggering
She wants to be
or
here again.
reactivating the trauma, right? And we're just avoiding it. We're parking it in a long-term parking, unattended.
Yes.
So in his case, it's evident that that is what he's doing with the overall frequency of 55, connection to soul at 55, relationships at 55, and you can see, the few minutes I watched him interact with other people, he is a master people pleaser in a way. It comes across as such, right? He wants to make sure that everyone likes him and he is as well accepted and praised, and he does that quite well. But the energy signature, right, is the 55, right? Behind the curtains, that 55 is clinging, creating the shield of protection to make sure that everyone is on the same page and doesn't see beyond to whatever it is he's portraying or showing publicly, right? Now, when it comes to indie joy, we're going into percentages now from 1 up to 100%. And as Elena pointed out, when it comes to the numbers, the vibrational frequencies are giving you a very clear idea where the person stands when it comes to how they process the information and what filters they activate.
And how they interact with their environment.
Yes, in every category that she shared. That's why it's extremely important when one wants to understand in order to help or support the other person when it comes to their behavior, it is extremely important to look at all these aspects and see how they behave and what filters they activate in different aspects. Because looking at just one number for all and putting everyone in one box under one number, let's say we just measure the vibrational frequency, the overall vibrational frequency, and then we describe what that frequency means, and then we say, okay, this is pretty much what his behavior is telling us and what filters he's activating. It goes beyond just one number and putting everyone in one box under one number is mission impossible. You only get really one little insight, I will say. But when we look at the whole chart, now we're covering most angles, if not all angles. And then we're able to draw a much detailed and in-depth description of why the person is behaving the way it is behaving. Then we are able also to advise and guide the person from a higher perspective, from a compassionate view.
If they're open, of
course.
Yes.
Allow them to accept where they're at, as all journeys are perfect the way they are, because it led us to experience. So for whatever reasons, sometimes crazy reasons that we don't understand, especially when we look back and we see that we have experienced these low frequencies at some point in our lives, we recognize that, okay, for whatever crazy reason, whatever it was that I was wanting to experience, I experienced it. Now I've gained a deeper understanding of myself. I've gained more awareness. And so therefore, I'm better equipped. I'm wiser. And now I can decide what direction to take and exactly and focus on a specific category where the resistance lies, to release it and to begin to create this domino effect throughout the chart. And eventually your overall vibrational frequency, which represents your level of consciousness, which is a predominant emotion, as Elena pointed out earlier, it takes practice to be that emotion to be turned into a dominant emotion. In order to know what your level of consciousness is, it just, once you experience a higher level of consciousness and you're aware that you are committed to yourself, to your personal growth, you start feeling the shift. And then it becomes easier because then you realize, wow, I am the creator of my reality. I am powerful enough to shift and to make the adjustments I desire, just by being patient and compassionate with yourself and compassionate with others. Things become easier as you go along, right?
We went on tangent about yourself, which is helpful. And I do want to mention something at the end after we reveal Ryan's numbers as well.
Okay, wonderful. Now we go into percentages because you could be experiencing all sorts of emotions. Yes, this is more about quantity than quality. In the joy, this means indicates how much the person is enjoying the role that they're currently playing. In this case, the role that Ryan is playing, that his persona self is playing in this reality. And it is 48%. For some reason, he's not enjoying it as much.
That makes sense, right? Because he dropped from 400 to 55. So when there is this big drop and the person is living out this lower vibration frequency, they're not going to enjoy it.
Yes, and you could, if you watch him, you think this guy is the happiest guy on earth, right? But actually behind the curtains, there's a major discrepancy, major misalignment between his thoughts and the feeling he's experiencing. Now we go in the ego. The ego, again, is not negative or positive, good or bad, right or wrong. It's just information. Yes, his belief system. And for him, is a 100%. That means he relies a lot in the ego, because that is his protective mechanism in a way, is a known territory. Yes, he's familiarized with this information. He has accessed this information, practiced it enough, integrated it enough to where he relies 100% in his belief system. Now, within the ego, there are two types of thoughts: the inferior version of the ego and the superior version of the ego. For him, is 99% in the superior version of the ego, which, along with the overall vibrational frequency of 55 and a few other numbers,
Relationships at
in
55.
relationships at 55, you might be more than likely displaying narcissistic tendencies. That's what we have seen over and over. Identify that as a pattern after, analyzing thousands of people without exaggeration. In the now, how much time he spends in the now, fully present, and this is, we could be present in many places at the same time.
I was just gonna say that. Present somewhere at all times.
Exactly. I see it more as not activated resistance, right? We can go back, we go back in time on a daily basis, and we go forward into the future. As long as we're not activating resistance, we could be everywhere at the same time. And we are everywhere at the same time, yes? We just don't notice it. But as long as we don't activate resistance, that's how I see it. That is being fully present, right? You're fully engaged in what you're doing. And more than likely is when you're inspired, motivated, empowered, and you feel that what you're doing is, you just become one with it. I could say that one. In his case, is 58%. So he's, without a doubt, being pulled by past experiences that activate resistance, and if he takes himself into the future, are also activating resistance most of the time, right? Or at least 62%. 42% of the time. Self-awareness, 66%. Clarity, 75%. So I will say that when one is too concerned about protecting oneself, not vulnerable enough, and preoccupied about reactivating emotions that produce feelings that are not part of the type of kind of experience that we want to experience, then is, without a doubt, our clarity gets blurred, Integrity. This is how loyal and faithful he is to his truth. It doesn't have to be Elena's truth, my truth, or your truth. As we know, there's subjective truth, objective truth, and then we say ultimate truth, that which activates no resistance in it. Yes?
Divine wisdom, I would say.
Divine wisdom, divine intelligence that we all have access to, that we're all connected to. It is just about learning to allow it to flow freely without activating resistance. Now, when we go into integrity to self, is 100%. out of that 71%. That's the overall integrity. And integrity to others or with others is 63%.
Mm.
That we have found this a common denominator especially within the political world, right? The
But
integrity.
also, I think it makes sense, like, because he's living out this 55 frequency, which is so out of alignment with his incarnation.
Mhm.
It kind of makes sense that, you know, when we talk about the 55 frequency of detachment to manipulate your environment, it makes sense that part of that integrity would play into.
Yes, without a doubt. I think integrity is a very important factor in order to release resistance. Yes, and instead of having this avoidance, trying to avoid things and manipulate the environment so we don't feel, or because we're afraid of feeling, that lack of taking a risk or that lack of vulnerability, again, produces a stagnation in our process of expansion. And therefore, we're not really loyal to our own truth, what we believe is true. You know, especially in his case, that he incarnated at the frequency of 400. That is his familiar or known territory when it comes to frequencies. Now, there's a drastic big gap between the two, right? The 55 and the 400.
But I would say his manipulation of how he wants others to perceive him, because he is loyal to his truth at 100%, but it's how he wants people to see him.
Yes.
And that's where the manipulation takes
Right.
place.
And that's what he's avoiding, and reflects. It's being reflected in his relationships at 55.
Exactly.
Now, alignment with divine purpose. This is how well he's playing the role that he decided to play in this reality before he dropped into this reality. How aligned he is with his soul's mission. And his case is 67%. And this is very common when one is experiencing a low frequency, or a lot lower than his incarnation frequency.
Yeah, it's indication of dark night of the soul.
Yes. Alignment with personal purpose. This is more about the persona self, you know, a sense of fulfillment of whatever he has experienced, wanting to experience, and it's at 93%. So when it comes to the persona self, he feels more aligned, right, with his earthly desires.
That's ego driven.
Or expectations, right? I mean, nothing is not right or wrong. It just is, yes? The ultimate we feel, and we've seen after doing many lifetime vibrational analysis and being a witness of people's journeys, as they go from lower frequencies up to and rise to higher frequencies, is that being in alignment with your divine purpose and your personal purpose is I think the ultimate for the human experience.
Yes.
You know, being in full alignment. Compassion, 87%, and compassion to others, 82%. So he, in his core, he means well. That it really is, I would say, you know, I kind of compare it to intuitive abilities. You know, we have this information that flows through us, but then for some reason, most of the time due to traumas, we activate low vibrational frequency filters. And then we hesitate to share the information or to integrate that information in our journeys, you know? So in this case, when it comes to compassion, he feels compassionate, but then probably thinking too much about it,
he retracts or he
Shields.
shields it or expresses it differently than when it first came through him, right? When it first came to his field of perception. Empathy, 87%. Now, energy purity is at 51%. Energy purity is an indicator as of how much the person is embodying the current level of consciousness that they're experiencing, the overall vibrational frequency, in his case, 55. So he's embodying it at 51%. But looking at all the numbers on his chart, at 51%, we can say that there are more than likely interferences in his field.
Energetic interference.
Energetic
Thought forms, whatever.
Yes.
I mean, there's so many different reasons why.
Negative influences, right? Who knows? Sometimes it happens when the person has some sort of addictions. But we've seen that often.
There's so many reasons.
So many reasons. At the same time, could be addicted to thinking what is out of alignment as well.
But that is something actually we can address through another analysis that we offer. It's called energy analysis, where we look into your soul gate. We look at to see if there's any color light interferences, if there's any entities, dark forces that are hijacking your field, because your soul gate, we often talk about it, has to be sealed at all times. It's between you and your higher self. So this is another analysis that we do that can help navigate. And we also look at karma. What kind of karma you're here to work through, if you have any curses. So there's so many aspects.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Of course, when it comes to karma, there's nothing we can do for you. You have to do it.
Yes, it's part
yourself.
of it.
It's part of your own journey. Yes.
No one can clear your karma for you.
Yes.
And we've heard people say that.
Yes.
With one snap, I cleared karma for you and future generations. I'm like, wow, that's spiritual bypassing.
We hear that often. Yes, and it's not the case. Yes. I mean, many people use it for whatever reason. Perhaps they don't have a full understanding of the dynamics of how that actually works, and they're in the hopes that they want to be people's heroes, maybe, or people's the healer of the century. and I appreciate that. The wanting to heal the world. I get it. Want to be the hero, but that's not how it works. The karma is your own. It's sort of like saying, I'm going to change just by clicking. I'm going to change your thinking process. You have to participate.
Actually, you're bringing up what I wanted to talk about at the end.
Yes, you have to be an active participant. Yes. And just by seeking, eventually the information shows up. And often happens the information has been displayed in front of your nose, but you are not ready to receive it. Yes. And then when you're consciously and willingly to explore, you just explore and pay attention to how you feel. And if it feels in alignment, if it feels that it resonates, and then you take it up a notch, is from resonance to alignment. That is the ultimate. But you have to participate.
Yes.
No one can come and just with a magic wand.
I'm so glad you're saying this, because actually we've had quite a few people say, I went to so-and-so and they said that they changed my vibrational frequency, or by me listening to this piece of music or tuning into a gadget, my frequency automatically shifts. As you can see, there's so many categories to shift without having your deep awareness of which aspect you are wanting to shift? Like, where in your life is your frequency perhaps out of balance? Where there's the most resistance? I just want you to know no one can shift your frequency but you.
Yes.
People like us are here to guide you into understanding yourself at the deepest level possible and guide you into and support you into
Right.
how that can happen. But only you, by practice, can make that decision.
Based on your results, we can
Yes.
provide a blueprint so that you know where you need to focus your attention and what to do in order to release that resistance, so you can
Yes.
experience a higher level of consciousness. You can experience more joy in your life. You can experience more freedom and expedite your expansion.
Mhm.
Yes, and it takes practice.
Yeah, it can't
Right?
happen in
Because-
one day.
Right,
Just-
because a belief, first you have to change your belief system somehow. You have to be an active participant. And your belief system changes when, as you know, a belief is a practiced thought. So now you have to practice other thoughts. That's why, as part of the vibrational frequency analysis report, when you receive your results, we incorporate tailored affirmations based on the resistance,
based on the emotions you
and
currently
the emotions
experience.
that are being currently activated. They're part of your experience and your reality at the moment. And the ones that you experienced while you were in utero as well, that contributed to the drop from incarnation down to birth. So that's extremely important, because it is not generic. The information is not generic. It's individualized, personalized. So now sort of like, you can speak about this when it comes to medicine, right? Conventional medicine. You go to a doctor and based on the symptoms, they issue
Prescriptions.
a prescription, and 10,000 people can visit the same doctor and receive the same prescription. They don't look or try to find the root cause, number one. And two, most of the time they don't recommend
Changes in
or give
lifestyle.
guidance of how people need to change their lifestyle in order to become an active participant in that journey, and empower people to realize that they hold the power.
That's right.
To experience something different, if they want to, of course, because otherwise you're the captain of your boat, right? No one can tell you go left or right, up or down, or wear a jacket when it's not raining, or not wear a jacket when it's raining. You decide. So we're here just to bring awareness, to be more specific, more detail-oriented, and pinpoint where the resistance lies, to you understand it. And the more you understand it, the easier it is to experience
The fullness of who you are.
Yes, the fullness of who you are more often. Now,
Yes.
I wanted to point it out before we close, or before it slips my mind. When it comes to connection to soul, we are always connected, fully connected, because that is your true nature. You are and will always be fully
Yes.
connected. You all are aware, are and will always be that divine spark, that
Regardless of the frequency you're experiencing.
that aspect of God, without a doubt. It doesn't matter where you vibrate at and what your level of consciousness is. Now, the difference is what filters we activate that slow down the flow of divine intelligence. That's it. That's it. As I once said, the only difference between, looking at it from a higher perspective, because people can have different points of views, the only difference between those that built the pyramids those beings that build the pyramids, because now it's clear that Egyptians did not build the pyramids. And all of us, you watching and us and everyone else in the world, is that they had a full understanding of their inner power, and they knew or know how to fully exercise their innate abilities. And for us to remember of that which we already are, we need to explore, be open, compassionate, patient, and be willing to continue exploring it until all of a sudden, when you least expect it, things open up and you're able to experience that which you already are more often enough to where it's so clear that you are experiencing a higher level of consciousness. And I can say that that is a fact. And we are, as many people that have experienced it, a real looking back, that is a fact. It's not nonsense. It's now woohoo woohoo, or what do they say? Yes, it is a fact. But we need to be active participants and pay attention. Pay attention to how we feel, because that is your inner guidance. And the more you do it, the more you follow that inner guidance, the easier it is to recognize what works and what doesn't work.
Imagine.
But experience is what makes you wiser and what helps you understand and see things from a higher perspective. And in order to experience it, you have to participate.
Message for today. So interesting that we took the small revelation of Ryan Reynolds and gave you this whole topic on consciousness and how aspects of our reality work. So
Yes.
we hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.
We know that we're just reminding you of what you already know.
Yes.
And just know that one way or another, we're trying to show clear points of reference of what it feels like to experience this frequency, that frequency, and
what does it all mean?
And what it means to you and to your friends and family members and so forth, so you can understand not only yourself, but you can understand others better. Yes.
How this reality operates.
Exactly. So people can offer you again a clear point of reference of what X vibration feels like, and you can benefit from it. You can taste it, you can experience it. Now it is about the practice of it to turn it into a dominant emotion and therefore into your new level of consciousness.
Right. Until next time, thank you so much.
Thank you.